It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. My friends, it is a Monday. It is the beginning of a new week, and you know what we do. You know what we do on Mondays. If you have been with us for any amount of time, every week we start the week out. We started out right with a Metal Monday. Well, today is a very special occasion. Today we're making it a Maiden Monday. Up the irons, y'all. We are continuing on in our quest of hearing all of Somewhere in Time, the great sixth album from Iron Maiden. Back on Friday in our previous episode, we started with hearing the first side. We heard Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Sea of Madness, and Heaven Can Wait. Today, we're going to finish what we started. We're going to hear The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, Stranger in a Strange Land, Deja-Vu, and Alexander the Great. So on Friday, when I heard side one, the only song that I had heard previously was Wasted Years, a few years ago, right? So it had been a long time since I had heard it. It was great to be refreshed to it and renewed to that particular song. I loved Caught Somewhere in Time. I loved Heaven Can Wait, but y'all, the song from that side that's really sticking in my head is Sea of Madness. It's a great tune. I really enjoyed it. And here, as we're going to listen to side two, the only one that I think that I've heard is Alexander the Great, but that was way back in the very beginning of the channel. And so it's been, I think, over 4 years since I've heard Alexander the Great. So it will be great to get back to that particular song and to hear all of side two in its entirety. So the band has said that this is not necessarily a concept album, but we do have these songs that are talking about space and time. We've got this common theme that is running through all of these songs, and I think it makes for a lovely, cohesive listen when we put everything together. So I am really looking forward to continuing on here and finishing up this album. Starting side two, we've got The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. This one is written by Steve Harris, and he says that he is drawing from literature again for inspiration for this song. The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner is a short story that was written by Alan Sillitoe in 1959. And then Sillitoe went on to write a screenplay, and it became a movie of the same name in 1962. And what I think that Steve is cluing into here is the solitude that you can get when you're out and running and on your own. You can kind of escape from the world a little bit. You can find your own gumption, what makes you tick. You can discover your own determination, and you can kind of get back to basics and work on yourself a little bit in the process. That's what I think he's up to, and I'm really looking forward to hearing it. As I did on Friday, I am making use of the 1998 remastered release of this album. We've got Bruce Dickinson on lead vocals, Dave Murray and Adrian Smith are on guitars and guitar synthesizers, Steve Harris is on the bass and bass synthesizers, and Nico McBrain is on the drums. So, my friends, let's get it started. This is The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. Off we go. They always have this sound that makes you know it's Iron Maiden just by how the bass sounds and the guitar sounds. And we're already in 2 keys. Come on, Nico, don't mess it up for me. That's 2 minor keys, a minor third apart. I'm having fun trying to follow this. It seems so futile. Run on and on. Flat 6. There's the flat 7. Then the 1. But what key are they in? Yeah, they're down in D minor. They're in D minor. Here. And they stay in D. They've been in a couple different keys throughout this. Speak of the devil. Yeah, they went up to E minor. There's 4 to 6 to 1. Wow, y'all. Love the sound of this. 4, 6, 1. You gotta keep running. You gotta win at all costs, keep going, be strong. You gotta be determined and push myself on. More guitar greatness. New key. Proggy is this metal song? That's gonna resolve, but it doesn't. It stays there. And up a step. Then up another step. Loneliness of the long-distance runner. That's major 1. Then back to minor 1. There's the flat 6. There's flat 7. And that's just the minor 1. Then up to this key above it. Like the beginning. They've been all over the joint in this tune, y'all. I guess the long distance runner covers a whole lot of territory. They might as well cover a whole lot of harmonic territory as they go. And I love the harmony done by the dual guitars. And they finish it in E minor. E's kind of their default key. We've learned that, but they set it up and then they go other places. Before we go on to the next song, I got to talk about that a little bit. What I heard, they're in E minor, y'all, and you know I heard this flat 6, flat 7, 1. When they go up to the G chord, that's the relative major, but then they do flat 6, flat 7, 1. They make the G minor. Flat 6, flat 7, 1. That's G minor. That's E minor. See how different they sound? E minor with its flat 6, flat 7, 1, and then G minor with its flat 6, flat 7, 1. Right? And I think from that G minor, which has 2 flats in it, that's what got him into D for a lot of that. Then they were doing some of that flat 6, flat 7, 1, and D. Sometimes they went to F instead of D, but they were all over the joint. That was a really cool thing that they were doing, though, from E minor. If you're going to go to G, normally it's G major, right? Because those two scales, G major and E minor, share a scale in common. They both have the same notes in their scale. E natural minor and G major are the same notes, but E minor and G minor do not. And that makes for a really fun departure there. And that's what I was hearing in that tune. It's like the music was following the long distance runner as they covered long distances. And it was a little like, escaping a bit from the world emotionally, physically, and finding yourself. I did some long distance running when I was training, when I was a pitcher in baseball, and I did cross country in junior high until I just really screwed my knees up. But I remember feeling a freedom as a runner that I didn't get in many other activities. And I think when they're equating loneliness of the long distance runner, I thought of it as freedom, as being free to be myself. And I'm out there doing it, you know? So really cool way to start us off there. So let's continue on. The next song is Stranger in a Strange Land. This one is written by Adrian Smith, and it was released as the second single from the album. And although it shares a title with a famous book by Robert Heinlein called Stranger in a Strange Land, it actually takes its inspiration from a real-life Arctic expedition where the explorers happened upon the frozen body of a previous expeditioner. And Adrian had become acquaintances with one of the survivors of that particular expedition, and he was inspired to write this song based on their conversations. So I'm really eager to hear this one. It was a single, and it's one that I had planned on looking at over the years, but I just never got to it, and I'm happy to look at it now. This is Stranger in a Strange Land. Here we go. Okay. Nice rhythm riff. Colorful chord. That's great. Brave New World comes back with Iron Maiden, doesn't it? No brave new world. rhythm of this. Vocally, I like the vocal rhythm here. It really sits nice within the texture. Right back in E minor. It's really cool, strong on that E minor chord. They found his body lying where it fell on that day, preserved in time for all to see. Woo! Gotta pay attention. What are they doing now? Really grooving on this one. There's some of the synths in there. And as always, I love hearing the melodic nature of Steve's bass playing. I love this. They're back to their tried and true progression. There's flat 6, and there's flat 7, right? Boy, just a straight ahead rock and roll classic. Sturdy. It gives a lot of space to the guitarist to spin a lovely melodic solo. And I know that Adrian wrote it. I gotta think that he's the one leading the charge in the guitar soloing. And I absolutely grooved on that. I really liked how the vocal melody, especially at near the beginning and in the verses, was a little bit lower in Bruce's range. He doesn't have to be at the height of his vocal power the entire time. You know what I mean? You need a little bit of that normal color. He's got a great color down in that middle to lower part of his range. And then when when he brings it back up, it's like, yeah, all of that power comes back up. But if you're there all the time, it kind of decreases the effect when that tries to raise the roof a little bit higher. You know, I loved that we had that give and take in the song, and that little breakdown about 2/3 of the way through, maybe 3/4 of the way through. It's a perfect little spot formally to let us catch our breath, and then we charge ahead towards the end of the song. Great stuff. Great stuff. Next up is Deja-Vu. And this one's written by Dave Murray with assistance from Steve Harris. And it's the only one on the album that Dave Murray has a songwriting credit on. And it's déjà vu. We know what that term means. It's the French term that means something that is previously seen or previously encountered or experienced. You know, it describes the sensation that we experience when we think, has this happened before? Have I been here before? This has happened to me before. Have I dreamt this? You know, it's happened to me. I've had a few really intense deja vu moments over the course of my life that really stick out. And I'm sure that many of y'all have as well. So Dave is talking about deja vu, and let's see what they have to say, both lyrically and musically. This is Deja Vu from Iron Maiden. Here we go. Starts off quite a bit slower than the other songs around it. And they're in A. Not anymore. What? Where are they? F minor. I mean, they start in A and then they go to a place that's very not. Because you know this happened before. Two Bruces singing the chorus. It sounds like that was cool. So there's a 6, there's a 7, there's the 1, 7, 6. They just really enjoy using those parallel chords as the palette to spin their metal goodness. That's 6, 1, still in F minor. The rhythm parts and the guitars in these songs are really what I feel is making them go. They're giving us these melodic hooks in the rhythm parts that just you don't mind hearing them over and over again.
Ever had a conversation that you realize you've had before?
It is strange, Bruce.
Have you ever talked to someone and you feel you know what's coming next?
What's coming next?
It feels relaxed.
It's because it's all good. Deja-Vu. It's really strange to me, this song. They started in A minor and they switched to F minor, a key that does not have an A natural in it. And they never come back. They stay in F minor the whole time. That's odd. You know, if you give us an introduction that's that different from what you're going to do in a major portion, whether it be a verse or a chorus or what have you, normally we want to bring that back and provide that contrast again, especially if we're going to reset for another verse, or we're going to do a bridge, or we're going to go to a guitar solo or some sort of solo section of the piece, and it gives that move back to where you established everything and where you're playing the bulk of your stuff. It allows that modulation to happen again, and we recognize it. We're like, yeah, they've done that before, and it's a cool rhetorical device to use in your pieces. This doesn't do that. It says, hey, we're in A minor, and then, oops, no, we're not. We're in F minor for the rest of the song. Enjoy it. It makes me wonder if the opening, like where it came from, you know, was that just kind of a throwaway? Because it wasn't really, by not using it again, it becomes less effective as an intro. Does that make sense? That's what comes to my mind when I think about that. All told, I think it's a really sturdy song, and I really enjoyed it, but that felt odd to me. So, there you go. On to the last one. Friends, I got to readjust my headphones here because I got a feeling we're going to have some fun with this one. Alexander the Great finishes off the album, and this one was written by Steve Harris. It's the only song on side 2 that I have previously heard. And like I mentioned in the introduction, it was over 4 years ago that I heard it. It was episode 91. We're in 900 and something now. Episode 91 in March of 2021. That was only a few months into me doing music reactions. And I reviewed Alexander the Great. And I remember I was at the grand piano in the church where I work to do that one. And I remember playing along to it. So I've got my keyboard here. Maybe I'll play along a little bit here as we hear it again. And so with this song, we simply get a bit of a synopsis and a history lesson. As we learn about this ancient world leader. Alexander the Great became a king as a young person. I believe he was 18 or 19 years old following the assassination of his father, and he went on to have a long career as a leader, and he led conquests and conquered a very large area of land. And today that land is like Greece and Albania and Bulgaria, Kosovo, Serbia, and North Macedonia. So that Macedonian Empire is in that general area. So let us be reminded of the greatness of Alexander the Great as told by Iron Maiden. Here we go.
My son, ask for thyself another kingdom, for that which I leave is too small for thee.
Who was the person that said that? Was that Bruce? It sounded like a deeper voice than Bruce. So we get a slow and stately introduction, kind of added to by the military style snare. Listen to that bass synth that Steve's got down there.
Now to the east, in a part of ancient Greece, in an ancient land called Macedonia, was born a son to Philip the Master. The legend is named once Alexander. At the age of 19,
19.
he became the master.
Thank you, Bruce.
And he swore to free all of Asia Minor.
He swore to free all of Asia Minor. He utterly beat the armies of Persia. Yeah, I remember. We went away from E for a second, but now we're back. We get specific battles and specific kings that he is toppling. So it's E down to D, A, then flat 6, flat 7, there's the 5. So where are they going to go from here? Belongs to dominant, down to 4. Just extends up a whole step. C sharp. Up another full step. That's a D sharp. Woo! Okay. 4, 5, 6. New tempo, new meter. Play along, but I don't want to play over the guitar solos. I can't help it, though. Back to E minor. As soon as I start playing, he switches things up on me. There's a major chord. It's 5, 4, 5, 1. So we're still in E minor. Relative major to the D, C, D, E. He paved the way for Christianity. Huh. I gotta play, y'all. Woo! That's gonna finish out the album, y'all. I remembered bits and pieces of Alexander the Great. That's a big time tune, y'all, and a great way to finish out that particular album. Holy crap, by the way. The album does not have a bad song on it. There is not a skippable tune there as far as I'm concerned. And you know, if you've been around for a lot of our Iron Maiden reactions, I never, talk down about harmonies. Simple harmonies work because they're great. They're sturdy, and they keep coming back to this, like normally a minor chord, a minor key, and then they go to the flat 6 chord and then the flat 7 chord and then come back to it. When they do that, if we take E minor, right? Flat 6 is a C major chord, flat 7 is a D major chord. That's 4 and 5 to G major, right? It's predominant, dominant to tonic in the relative major key. When they use it as flat 6 to flat 7 to there, or there, and we just land on the minor chord, it's acting as if it is predominant and dominant and tonic. It's just an altered version of it in the minor key, right? If we use the 4 chord and the 5 chord in E minor, it sounds like this. Versus, I can use the exact same melody going up with the real 5 chord or with the modal 5 chord. It sounds very similar, that to that to that, sounds very similar to that to that, whoop, to that, you know? So 4 to 5 can also be like 4 to 5. They serve the same function. So when they do that flat 6 to flat 7 to 1, they're relying on an ancient, powerful archetype, a powerful way of building this background structure that allows them to then put all of the guitar solos and the bass and the rhythm and the melodies and the vocals and all of that over the top of it. And they're using it and they're kind of moving around, right? That first song that we're in E minor. Well, what if we just moved the same thing up to G minor? And then at some point they get to D and do the exact same thing. They're doing that same flat 6, flat 7, 1 in all of these different areas that they get to as a way to move the ball down the field to get to their goal or the end of their phrase, right? The end of the musical idea. And they do it as well as anybody, you know, and they don't try to reinvent the wheel too much. They just go, this is the way we express ourselves, and it's working for us. We're going to keep doing it, and there is no shame in sticking with relatively straightforward harmonies. You know, you don't have to try to come up with, well, I'm going to do this chord and it's going to have a flat 5 and a sharp 13 and all of this and a cherry on top, you know. Sometimes those are really cool to use and they give us great color, but a lot of times, especially if you are performing on stage to a huge grouping of people, like Iron Maiden tends to do, you want the pieces, you want the sonic nature of your music to be as solid and straightforward as possible so that it can be understood and received by all of those people. If you do something that's really, really technical and harmonically intense, and then try to amplify it to these big open spaces, it loses a little bit of its clarity. You know, it loses that spiciness because it doesn't have the ability to be in that little intimate area where we are hearing, yeah, that jazz fusion and all of those interesting alterations of these harmonic approaches to this sound. Before we we finish up today, I want to talk a little bit about the album cover. Y'all were mentioning it on Friday, and so I knew that it looked really cool. I wanted to look into it a little bit more. So I have brought up here the full album cover here, and it's a wraparound. So like over here is going to be on the right side is going to be the front, and then it wraps around to the back. And we've got so many like little nuggets of callbacks and information in this one. Derek Riggs is the artist who had become the band's go-to person to create their album covers and their art. And here we get Eddie almost in a Blade Runner pose, and he's like this athletic. He's got some abs. He's got a what, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got an 8-pack, y'all, and he's a cyborg and he's ready for business. But look at all of the stuff that we've got here. The Bradbury Towers, that's from Blade Runner that I saw. I still haven't seen the movie. 2358, that's 2 minutes to midnight. What else do we have? Like if I really zoom in here. Oh yeah, the Phantom Opera House, so the Phantom of the Opera, their song. Let's see, we've got Bruce holding a brain and Nico having the aviator glasses on. So maybe Bruce should have the aviator glasses on and Nico should be carrying the brain since his name is McBrain, right? What else do we got? The Ancient Mariner Seafood Restaurant. That's the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The pyramids are from Power Slave, right? The eye there, that one, that looks like it's from Power Slave as well. That looks like Eddie Lives on the side of a building there. There's a whole lot of stuff. I wonder what this is. What is that? Up there. Somebody is leaping off a tall building, it looks like, and trying to fly. I don't know what that refers to. But it looks like there's tons and tons and tons of these callbacks here, which call back to either albums or songs or Iron Maiden lore. And it's a kick ass. It's a kick ass album cover. What is this? Latest results, West Ham 7, Arsenal 3. That must be a football score. I wonder who is a fan, and are they a fan of West Ham or are they a fan of the Arsenal? Well, there you go. There's a little bit of background into the album cover, which I think deserves some attention there. Well, friends, there you have it. We did it. It's a Metal Monday. We got through 4 songs, 4 great songs, and we finished up Somewhere in Time from Iron Maiden. I really like the album, friends. I really don't think there's a bad one on the album. And, I got reminded over the weekend. I had said, we're continuing on. We're doing Somewhere in Time. And then a couple people wrote to me and said, Doug, did you take a look at the whole album, The Number of the Beast? We know that you did the title track, but I don't think that you did the album. And I checked. I don't think that I have either. So very soon, I'm not like right away, but within a few weeks, I think I am going to come back to our friends here in Iron Maiden, and I am going to erase the error of overlooking The Number of the Beast, and I'll get back to that one next before we continue on and hear more from Iron Maiden. But it's been really fun over these past few episodes to take a deep dive into this classic album. It's Somewhere in Time from 1986, their 6th album, and I think they're hitting their stride. They are really killing it in this album. Great songs, great performing. The production is wonderful. I could hear everything, and it was a really lovely experience. So, up the irons, y'all. We did it. Maiden Monday, and I had a good time. Can't wait to get back to them, but it'll be a few weeks. But until then, keep up in the irons, and I thank you for hanging out and for continuing to be a part of what we do here on the Daily Doug. I very much appreciate all of your support and for your paying attention and watching the videos. It means a lot to me. So thanks very much for joining me. This has been Somewhere in Time from Iron Maiden, Side 2. We will see y'all next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.